stepsister crashed my engagement party claiming my fiancé was her son's father, so I told her ex about it and it turns out she was trying to scam two men for child support. So, I, 27F, just had my engagement party a couple of nights ago, and it was supposed to be one of the happiest moments of my life. My fiancé, 30M, and I have been together for 4 years, and this party was meant to celebrate us with our close family and friends before the big wedding. We rented out a nice little venue, decorated it with flowers, and had food, music, everything. It took a lot of effort to plan this, and I wanted everything to be perfect. Thanks to my luck though, everything went downhill pretty quickly. For some quick context, I have a strained relationship with my stepsister. We'll call her Kara, 32F. We've never been close because she has this habit of blaming me for every little thing that goes wrong in her life. If she lost her job, it was somehow my fault. If her boyfriend left, I must have said something to him. Seriously, it's like she has a vendetta against me, which is why she loves to pin the blame on me, even for stuff that's totally not my fault. Even though we weren't on the best of terms, I still invited her to my engagement party. I wanted to be the bigger person and try to smooth things over, at least for the sake of our parents. But Kara told me she wouldn't be able to make it because she had other plans. Fine. No big deal. I wasn't surprised, though. The night of the party started off great. All our friends, family, and coworkers showed up. Everything was going perfectly and everyone was having a good time. That is until about 2 hours into the party. Kara decided to make her grand entrance then. She quite literally threw the doors open, and held my nephew, 5M, up at her shoulder level, with him facing us, like she was trying to make a statement. Everyone stopped what they were doing and just stared at her. My heart dropped to my stomach and I knew instantly that things were going to go south. I tried to ease into a greeting with her and hoped to maybe pull her aside and talk to her in private. So, I walked up to greet her, but before I could say anything, she pushed past me, nephew still in hand, and went straight to the front of the room. She grabbed the mic and told everyone she had something to say. She then launched into this long, dramatic speech about how I had stolen her baby daddy. She told everyone that my fiancé was the real father of her son and that he had abandoned her and her kid to be with me. She claimed that they had been together when we first started dating, and I swooped in and ruined their relationship. I stood there frozen. I mean, how does one even react to something like that? I was doing my best to process what she was saying, while everyone just stared at me and my fiancé. And that wasn't even the end of her speech. She then pulled out her phone and started showing people texts that she claimed were from my fiancé. She said that they had been talking around the time I met him. Then she held up a folded piece of paper which she said was a paternity test. She said the test proved that my fiancé was the father of her child, and she was only bringing it to light now because she was tired of living a lie and letting us play house. The whole room was dead silent. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I mean, the paternity test she waved around looked legit, but it made no sense. My fiancé had never mentioned anything about her or a kid. Not to mention, I have no idea how she could have possibly managed to get DNA from my fiancé when, as far as I was concerned, they barely met twice. I knew that she had been married for a while, and everyone assumed that he was the father of her son. Why would she wait 5 years to bring the true paternity of her son up? And why did she need to do it at my engagement party? I know she's had a history of blaming me for everything wrong in her life, but she's never embarrassed me to this extent before. Still, since my fiancé and I were the hosts of the party, I decided to stay as calm as I could. She continued after that and said that I knew all along that they were together and that I didn't care. She called me manipulative and selfish. She said that I was a backstabber who stole her only chance at happiness. It was wild. Then she started making even crazier claims about other horrible things I'd supposedly done to her. She talked about stuff like how I had spread rumors about her at her job to get her fired, and how I forced my fiancé to leave her by blackmailing him. None of it made sense, but she kept talking. And as I looked around the room, it was clear some people at the party were starting to believe her. At that point, I had enough. I told her, as calmly as I could, that none of what she was saying was true. I explained to everyone that she was bitter and upset because her life hadn't gone the way she wanted, and she was trying to blame me for her problems, just like she always did. I said I didn't appreciate her coming to my engagement party and causing a scene. When she kept interrupting and throwing more accusations at me, I finally asked her to leave. By that point, the whole vibe of the party was completely ruined, and honestly, I was too upset to keep it going. I told everyone we'd call it a night, thanked them for coming, and asked the venue staff to help me wrap things up. Some people tried to stay behind to comfort me, but I just wanted to be alone and figure out what had just happened. I had my fiancé leave earlier too because I needed to think about everything. When I got home, I confronted my fiancé about everything that Kara said. After a little back and forth, he finally admitted that he did have a fling with Kara about 5.5 years ago, but it was before we got serious. He swore that it was just a one-night thing, and he had no idea she got pregnant or even thought the kid could be his. He seemed genuinely confused about the whole situation and said there was no way he was the father. I didn't know how to process that. My fiancé had never once told me that he knew Kara. I mean, he met her and I introduced her as Kara before. How had he not even once told me about him being with Kara? I couldn't sleep next to him that night, so I slept in the guest bedroom. I ended up not being able to sleep at all, so I decided to do some research into paternity in general. Eventually, I decided to just contact Kara's ex-husband, who I'll call Matt. I waited until it was an acceptable hour in the morning to call him, and when I finally got through to him, I told him about what Kara had said at my engagement party. To say he was livid would be the biggest understatement of the century. He told me that he had always had doubts about being my nephew's biological father, but every time he brought it up, Kara would shut him down. He said he was going to demand a paternity test immediately. He wanted it immediately, not just to find out if he was my nephew's real father, but also because he was done paying child support if the kid wasn't his. For some context, Kara and Matt got divorced because Matt found out that Kara had been cheating on him. However, she swore to the heavens and back that he was my nephew's real father. He wanted nothing to do with the child, anyway, because the child would have been a constant reminder of his failed marriage. But, Kara essentially dragged him into court and he was ordered to pay quite a large amount in child support. Knowing that Kara's child could not be his was essentially the last straw for Matt. Anyway, a few days later, Matt got the test done, and the results came back. Matt texted me and told me that the kid wasn't his. My fiancé refused the paternity test, and while I understand that he can do whatever he wants, I also know that it's kinda strained our relationship right now. My fiancé is terrified about what would happen to us if the child really is his, but I think the relationship is already in free fall. Just knowing that he was with Kara has put me off. But, back to Matt. After finding out that he wasn't the father, Matt hit Kara with a lawsuit to recover all the child support payments he had made over the years. Matt also made it his mission to get the word out about him not being my nephew's father to everyone he could, including my parents and the other side of Kara's family. Now, she needs help, and no one wants to help her. Kara has completely lost it. She has not stopped texting and calling me since Matt asked for the paternity test. She's blaming me for ruining her and my nephew's life by reaching out to Matt. She said that she'd been struggling as a single mom for years, and the only thing that she could rely on was taken away by me. I actually do feel a little bad. I just needed clarity on my relationship and I didn't mean to make things hard for her. But I also can't entirely take the blame for what's happening to her. She was the one who opened this can of worms by making a scene at my engagement party. I still have to ask Ida for getting my stepsister's ex-husband involved in the accusations she made against my fiancé? Some of my friends think I should have just convinced my fiancé to do the paternity test and left Matt out of the picture so Kara at least would have had the resources to raise my nephew. So now I'm wondering if I did the wrong thing. Update 1. Hi everyone, thanks for all your comments and support on my original post. I'm still trying to wrap my head around everything that's happened. A lot of you had questions about my relationship with my stepsister, my fiancé, and the aftermath of my engagement party, so I figured I'd give you all an update. First off, let me clarify my relationship with my stepsister. As I mentioned before, we've never been close. Growing up, she was always competitive with me. Everything was a competition for her, even though I never saw it that way. She has this way of playing the victim and blaming everyone around her, especially me, for her problems. I've tried to be the bigger person over the years, but it's exhausting. She created a huge scene when her marriage fell apart and blamed me for it, even though I literally had nothing to do with it. I never contacted her ex-husband, and I never butted into her business at all because I didn't want to be blamed for anything that went wrong in her life. Still, she found a way. She's always loved to make a villain in her life because I guess that was better than dealing with things that were clearly her fault. Anyway, after she stormed out of my engagement party, she actually sent me all the proof she was waving around during her speech. She texted me screenshots of messages that she claimed were between her and my fiancé, pictures of them together, and the paternity test that supposedly showed he was the father of her child. I was still in shock from the party, and honestly, I didn't even want to open those messages. I wasn't sure if I could handle seeing whatever it was she had sent me. But eventually, I did, and I went through everything. The texts were from a few months before my fiancé and I got serious, and yes, it was while Kara was still married, but she never told my fiancé that she was married. We knew each other, but we weren't together. The texts between Kara and him were flirty, and it was clear that they had been together at least once. The pictures she sent were of them hanging out, but there wasn't anything in them that made me believe they had been together recently. As for the paternity test, it was legit. It wasn't some fake document she had printed off the internet, which freaked me out even more. I felt like my whole world was crumbling. I confronted my fiancé again and pushed him to get a paternity test done to settle this once and for all. He fought me really hard on it, though. He kept saying it wasn't necessary, that Kara was just trying to mess with us, and that doing the test would give her exactly what she wanted. At first, I tried to stay calm and explain that this wasn't just about Kara. It was about us and our relationship. I needed clarity. I needed to know the truth, no matter what it was. But every time I brought it up, my fiancé got more defensive. He said things like, "Do you not trust me? Or why are you letting her ruin what we have?" He even tried to flip it on me by saying that I was being paranoid and letting Kara's lies control my mind. Honestly, it made me feel crazy. For a while, I doubted myself. Like maybe I really was overreacting. But deep down, I knew I wouldn't be able to move forward without knowing for sure. It took days of back and forth before he finally caved. And even then, it was like pulling teeth to get him to go through with the paternity test. We had a huge argument right before we went to the clinic. He kept saying it was a waste of time and that I was being unfair by putting him in this situation. He acted like I was the one breaking our trust by asking for the test. It hurt more than I can describe, but all I could think about was why he was more worried about if he was really my nephew's biological father over saving our relationship. I made it very clear that if he didn't take the test, I would not be able to trust him, and that's what relationships are based on. Anyway, we finally got the test done, and waiting for the results was pure agony. I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep. It felt like my whole life was hanging in the balance. When the results came back, they confirmed that my fiancé is the father of Kara's son. I can't even describe the feeling I had when I saw those results. It was like the ground disappeared beneath my feet. I was devastated. My entire relationship with my fiancé suddenly felt like a lie, and I didn't know what to do. I couldn't stay in the same house with him after that. I packed a few bags and went to stay with a friend. I'm still here now, trying to figure out my next steps. My fiancé has been texting and calling me nonstop. He's begging me to come back and talk things through. He says he didn't know about the kid and that it doesn't change how he feels about me, but I don't know if I can move past this. He knew he had been with Kara, and he never told me. That betrayal alone is enough to make me question everything. And now that there's a child involved, I just don't know what to do. I feel lost. I've spent the last few days crying, not knowing what my next move should be. Do I break off the engagement? Do I try to work things out? I love him, but this whole situation has shattered my trust in him. I don't know if I'll ever be able to look at him the same way again. He has a child with my stepsister, and it's a constant reminder of everything that's happened. How do I even begin to deal with that? As for Kara, things are not going well for her either. From what I've heard, Matt has hired a very expensive lawyer who has a reputation for winning, and he's not making it easy on Kara at all. Aside from fighting for Kara to pay Matt back the child support he sent, the lawyer also reevaluated Kara's finances and realized that she was not fit to be a parent. CPS got involved, and my nephew was briefly taken in by the state. My mom and stepdad managed to gain temporary custody of my nephew, so he's fine. But Kara is in shambles. She has made it her mission to tell everyone we know that I'm the reason that her son has been taken away from her. She has also not stopped texting and calling me to remind me of what a horrible person I am. She's still accusing me of stealing her baby daddy, so she's not really sorry about what she did. I'm honestly just so overwhelmed by everything right now. I never thought my life would turn into this kind of drama, and I'm at a loss for what to do next. If anyone has any advice, I could really use it right now. I'm not sure where I went wrong, but I feel like I've lost control of everything in my life. Update 2. Hey everyone, I read all your comments on my last post, and wow, thank you so much. It really helped to hear so many different perspectives. I needed that push to clear my head and figure out what to do next. After sitting with everything for a few days, I finally decided to go back home and have a serious conversation with my fiancé. When I got back, it wasn't easy. We sat down, and I told him exactly how I felt. I explained that it wasn't just about Kara anymore, it was about our relationship and the future I thought we were building together. Seeing the paternity test results broke something inside me. I told him that even though I loved him, I didn't see how we could move forward knowing he had a child with Kara. I've always wanted to be child-free, and this situation made it even clearer that I wasn't prepared for a life where his child and Kara would always be in the picture. If he wanted to be a father to my nephew, I wasn't going to stand in his way, but I knew it meant we couldn't be together the way I had hoped. We talked for hours, and I could tell he was struggling too. He admitted that he felt overwhelmed by everything. He said he was blindsided by the paternity results and never expected that night with Kara to come back to haunt him. He told me he never wanted kids either, but now that he knew he had a son, he couldn't ignore it. And honestly, I respect that. I get it. It's not the kid's fault, and my fiancé, or ex-fiancé? I don't even know what to call him anymore, is trying to do the right thing. But the truth is, I don't think I can be a part of this situation. By the end of our conversation, we decided to put the wedding on hold. We both agreed that it wouldn't make sense to jump into a marriage with so many unresolved issues hanging over us. Instead, we're going to try couples counseling to see if there's even a path forward for us. Honestly, I'm not holding my breath, but at least it feels like I'm doing everything I can to make the right decision. If nothing else, I want to walk away from this knowing I gave it my best shot. Now, as for Kara, things are spiraling out of control on her end. Like I said before, her ex-husband Matt is coming at her hard with legal action. The courts are demanding that she pay back every cent of the child support she took from him under false pretenses. She's drowning in legal fees, and from what I've heard, she had to sell off a bunch of her stuff just to afford her lawyer. CPS is still involved, and my mom and stepdad are taking care of my nephew for now. 2 days ago, Matt reached out to me again. He's apparently grateful that I tipped him off, and he's decided that I needed to be updated on what's been happening. Apparently, Matt had requested a second test to confirm that Kara's son wasn't biologically his after she forged the one claiming that Matt was the father of her son in order to get child support. He wanted to cover his bases, and while this one also said that he was not the father, it revealed something new. It turns out that Matt isn't the only one Kara scammed. Apparently, Kara was also conning another guy who she also cheated on Matt with as well. Yeah, another guy aside from my fiancé. She's a serial cheater. Apparently, she never asked my fiancé for child support because he was just starting his own business and wasn't rich enough. She had been secretly hitting this other guy up for child support at the same time she was collecting from Matt. The other guy obviously had no idea that she was already taking child support payments from Matt and had been sending her a good amount of his paychecks. Not only that, but he was also apparently very involved in my nephew's life and is the closest father figure my nephew has had. Kara had been milking both of them for years and kept switching between sob stories about how hard it is to be a single mom to cover her tracks. I'm still trying to wrap my head around how she thought she could get away with this. But the court caught on, and now both men, Matt and the other guy, are teaming up to sue her. Kara is not just in legal trouble for fraud, but she's also looking at potential jail time. And if that weren't enough, the other guy is fighting for custody of my nephew. He claims that he had been raising Kara's son and paying child support because he assumed that the child was his. He claims that he has served as the child's father in every meaningful way, especially because the child's biological father, my fiancé, has had no involvement in the child's life. From what Matt has told me, the courts are very much in favor of this other guy. I wish I could say I was surprised, but honestly, this is peak Kara. She's always scheming, always looking for someone to blame, and now it's all catching up to her. The fallout from all of this has been absolutely insane. My mom and stepdad are freaking out because if the other guy wins custody, it means my nephew could end up with someone who they don't know. They've even hinted at the idea that I should step in and offer to help with custody since I'll eventually be part of the family if I stay with my fiancé. The sheer audacity has left me speechless. I told them that I have zero intentions of becoming a parent, and especially not under these circumstances. It's been a lot to process. I still don't know how things will play out in my own life, let alone what's going to happen with Kara. My life feels like a soap opera, but I'm doing my best to keep my head above water. I'll keep you all posted if anything else happens, but for now, I'm just taking things one day at a time. Update 3, hey everyone, it's been 6 months since my last update, and things have been a lot. I think I should start off by telling you about what happened with Kara and my nephew. After a whole lot of back and forth in court, the judge ruled in favor of the other guy, the one Kara had been scamming alongside Matt. He was granted full custody of Kara's son. From what I've heard, he's a good guy, and since he's been a consistent presence in the kid's life, the court decided it was in the child's best interest to stay with him. My nephew is living with someone who genuinely cares for him, and honestly, I think that's the best possible outcome. Kara, on the other hand, got hit with fraud charges for taking child support from both Matt and the other guy at the same time. She was charged with child support fraud and misrepresentation. Luckily for her, she didn't get jail time. Instead, she was ordered to pay back everything she took from the two men and was sentenced to some hours of community service. Honestly, I'm surprised she got off as lightly as she did, but it's not my problem anymore. She's finally facing the consequences of her actions, and that's all that matters to me. As for my relationship with my family, things are a bit rocky. My mom and stepdad are still disappointed that I didn't step in to help with custody, but they've backed off a bit now that everything's settled. They've been trying to reconnect with me, but I've been keeping my distance. It's not that I don't love them, but after everything that's happened, I need time to heal. I'm not ready to fully forgive them for how they handled this whole situation. They chose Kara's side for too long, and it's going to take a while for me to trust them again. Now, on to me and my relationship. I left my fiancé. Yep, I'm done. Couples counseling was going pretty well at first, and I really thought we had a shot at saving the relationship. I was even starting to come around to the idea of being part of his son's life. Maybe we could find some weird middle ground where I stayed child-free but was still supportive in my own way. I thought we were making progress. Until Kara interfered. Again. One night, she showed up at my house. It was late, and I was getting ready for bed when I heard someone banging on the door. I opened it, and there she was, standing there with this wild look in her eyes. She pushed past me and started accusing my fiancé of knowing the truth about her son's parentage all along. She said he kept quiet because he didn't want to ruin his relationship with me. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I tried to fight back and tell her she was wrong, but she refused to even look at me. She just kept pressing him to tell the truth, and demanded that he admit everything. And what did he do? Nothing. He just stood there silently the whole time. I kept looking at him and hoping that he'd say something, literally anything, to defend himself or me. But no. He just let Kara go off like that in our home. Eventually, I managed to get her to leave, but the damage was done. I knew something was off and that he was hiding something from me. I confronted him right after I shut the door behind Kara. We fought again, and this was the worst fight we ever had. I'm talking screaming and crying levels of fighting. Eventually, he confessed. He told me that he knew that he was the father. For a pretty long time, actually. Turns out, he found out that Kara's son was his at the first dinner he had with my family, which was where he met Kara again after their fling. During that dinner, Kara had pulled him aside and told him that she was sure that he was the real father of her child. At first, he didn't believe her, so she asked him to get a paternity test. He agreed to take the test, but after the results came in, he ghosted her. He knew he was the father, but he didn't want to be responsible for a child, so he avoided her for years. I remember him always making excuses to not attend any of the events that my family held. The only time he would come was when I was sure that Kara wouldn't be there. So here I was, thinking that he didn't like Kara because of how she treated me, but it turns out, it was because he was hiding from the truth. Kara must have managed to get her hands on the paternity test from the center where he did it, and she probably decided to make a scene about it because she finally had the proof she needed to get money out of my fiancé. That was it for me, though. I couldn't stay with someone who kept something this huge from me. It wasn't even about Kara anymore, it was about trust. He had lied to me for years, and that was the breaking point. I packed my stuff, moved out, and left him behind. It's been tough trying to rebuild my life. The first few months were really difficult. I lost my family and the one person I loved most, at almost the same time. I was exhausted of all the drama, but it does make me feel better knowing that everyone that did me wrong has gotten payback in some way. My ex-fiancé no longer has me, Kara can no longer scam anyone, and her son is now in the custody of the very man she was robbing, and my family has limited contact with me. Thank you to every single one of you who commented, because that really gave me the courage to go on.